Nicole Neidhardt is a Diné Navajo multidisciplinary artist and illustrator originally from Santa Fe, New Mexico. She received her MFA from OCAD University in Toronto, Ontario, and a BFA with a business minor from the University of Victoria. Nicole's Diné identity is the heart of her practice, which encompasses illustration, installation, murals, and Indigenous futurisms. Her multidisciplinary practice centers and uplifts Indigenous worldviews and voices in order to contribute to a strong and vibrant Indigenous future. She has illustrated the books Circle of Love, Braiding Sweetgrass for Young Adults, the Robin Kimmerer, their version, and What Your Ribbon Skirt Means to Me, Deb Hallen's historic inauguration. So please join me in welcoming Nicole Neidhardt.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya. Yaate, everybody. Nicole Neidhardt Yaneshia. Kia ani neshle bilagana bashashin do sinigeni dashache. Hi, my name is Nicole Neidhardt. I'm a Diné visual artist and illustrator, and I feel really lucky and excited to be up here speaking with you all, and also for our conversation. You can go to the next slide. Oh, wait, who's doing that? Okay, cool. Slide. This is my home territory, Round Rock, Arizona. This is where my mom is from and all of my Diné ancestors. And on my father's side, I'm a mix of European settler ancestry. You can go next slide. I also wanted to just show a lot of the work I'm doing right now is children's book illustration, which feels like a beautiful continuation of kind of a lot of the thinking I've been doing throughout my artistic practice, and kind of the work of within Indigenous futurisms, which I also do, and I'll speak to that in a second, in a little bit. But I just wanted to show you some of my books that I've done. I'm really proud of those, so it's pretty exciting. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of share some of the thinking that I do, and also some of the things and ideas that ground my work and influence my work. As was mentioned, I work a lot within Indigenous futurisms, and I don't know if anyone has heard of that term, or Afrofuturism. Indigenous futurisms is this really vibrant and beautiful area of thinking and making and dreaming that is really centered in Indigenous worldviews. It gives us a space to imagine future worlds, alternate realities, maybe rewrite some of our histories, maybe those colonial histories, and kind of dream outside of that and see where are the possibilities and where are the futures that we might want to create and inhabit. And then another philosophical matrix that's really core to my work is Sant Nagai Begat Hojon, or SNBH, and that's a Navajo kind of philosophical matrix that if I summed it up really quickly, which is very hard to do, but it's how do you live as a Diné person? That's what it is. And I use that to ground everything I do to be in the world. So, and then the last thing, land as time machine. It's an idea that I've really been exploring since my master's, where I got to work with Peter as my primary supervisor, and Tanya was actually my external supervisor, and then Justine and I were in the same program. So I've worked a lot with all of these folks, and it's great. And I'll kind of speak to this idea a little more. Next slide. Yeah, so this is one of the works I did. It's called Bimia Batzanelli. It was for the Land Back exhibition at Open Space Gallery in Lekwungen Territory, Victoria, BC. I wanted to show this work because within this idea of Indigenous futurisms, I've been really kind of gravitating towards time travelers. And I started thinking okay, if there are Navajo forms of time travel, then there's gotta be Navajo time travelers. So I created this portal and a Star Trek transporter pad, because I'm a total nerd and I love Star Trek. So yeah, it's a piece that you can step inside of. And actually, if you go to the next slide, There's another shot of it. The portrait in the middle is a stencil I cut out. Oh, actually, go back. Yeah, a stencil I cut out. It's my great-great-great-grandma at Satanelli, and she actually survived the long walk of the Navajo. So that was like the mass displacement of our community in the 1860s. So she's like the time traveler I wanted to bring into this work and be in communication with her story and how her story means that I'm here today. And what's so cool about this work is if you look at the bottom of the piece, the dirt I used at the bottom of the portal is actually sand from my home community in Round Rock. And the area I collected it from, it's so red that all of the earth, like, we call it Mars because that's what it looks like. It's really cool. And the material I made this out of, you can go to the next slide actually, is called mirror mylar. It's a type of like reflective plastic that I cut these really intricate stencils out of to create these 2D works of art that I then travel around and take to the land and see what kind of conversations happens between those pieces. But you can see it's really reflective, like mirrors, so it like reflects the whole world around it and the light, and oh, it's beautiful. But this piece is of Spider Woman. And yeah, it's called Spider Woman Weaves Her Pattern of the Universe. And it was for the Born Celestial exhibition in Hamilton. And this work, I did a couple different things where I took like a 360 video on the land there, and you can see in behind the mylar piece, there's like a mountain, like a red rock structure, and that's Spider Rock where Spider Woman actually lives. She lives underneath that rock. So it felt really special to take the work to her and show it to her and just show her how much she's given me too, because she taught the Navajo how to weave. So she's kind of like one of our mothers or our grandmothers. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, and then I just also wanted to show my MFA thesis work, Stories Held in a Time Traveler's Hogan. This is just a picture, a little detail picture of it. I'll speak about it kind of quickly, but you can go to the next slide actually. So for this project I designed 4 Diné time travelers. You saw the first portrait at the very beginning. It was a self-portrait as me as a time traveler. But these are kind of the core time travelers I worked with during my thesis. And they're actually portraits of me, my brother on the far right, my auntie Faith in the middle, and then my mom, White Shell, or Mary, on the left. And these are designs where I had to think about Diné aesthetics. I had to think about what are Diné time travelers wearing? Like, how does it look futuristic? Like, what are all these aesthetics that I have to play with to kind of get what I'm trying to do across? And also, it's filled with stories. Every design detail in these stencils has a story related to it. Like, one small example is, like, if you look at my mom's portrait, there's a in her belly, there's a landscape, right? And then a little sun coming out of her necklace. And that's Gubernador Knob, where White Shell Woman, who my mom is named after, that's where she was born. And she was married to the sun. So we have, like, my mom is a time traveler with the sun design behind her and these sunbeams coming out. And this landscape kind of grounded in her belly. But yeah, I'll show you how I brought some life into these designs even more. Next slide. Oh, actually first, this is where I traveled to with these time travelers, because for my thesis work, I created these 4 time travelers, and then I brought them to the 4 Navajo sacred mountains. Because I was thinking, like, okay, land is time machine, where would that time machine be for me? And the first thing I thought of was our sacred mountains, and all of the creation stories that are alive in the land there. So we brought the time travelers and my family to all the sacred mountains. We drove all the way, and it was a really wild story, but I'm not gonna get into that whole thing. But just to give you a sense, it took me like 8 hours to get to the farthest mountain. So it's a bit of a trip. You can go to the next slide. And this is what we did. We opened these portals of like fluid space-time energy on these sacred mountains with these time travelers. I cut them out of the mirror mylar, and we had this kind of this like ceremonial ritual that me and my mom came up with to open the space for us and close it afterwards. But I recorded this using a 360 video. That's why it's kind of flattened out in that way. And if you go to the next one, you can see another sacred mountain. This was Debensa, the mountain in the east. This is Tzotzilth, the southern sacred mountain. You can go to the next one. And then we also even did it in a snowstorm, the northern mountain Debensa. And it was just a really special thing to collaborate with my family and my ancestors and create these portals on the land. If you go to the next slide again, that's kind of a shot of one of the pieces actually on the mountain. This was at Tzotzilth during sunset, and Tzotzilth is like the southernmost mountain, and we associate that mountain with the sunset temporally. So I did some filming of the pieces with that kind of lighting too. You can see how the material is very, I don't know, mesmerizing. It's a good time traveling material. Next slide. And yeah, this is what the exhibition actually looked like once I brought it back for school and stuff and had to put it in a space. I built a celestial hogan with my brother in the middle, and that's where all the time travelers were. I had the red sand again for my home, and then each wall had, I painted with the colors that aligned with the sacred mountains. And inside each mountain is actually a QR code that links to the videos that we took. So it's a very immersive kind of interactive experience. You can go to the next slide. This gives you a sense of scale. It's me standing inside of the celestial hogan surrounded by the time travelers. And next slide. And yeah, this is just a little video that shows like kind of what it was like in the space. But yeah, you can kind of see how like the colors of the mountains interacted with the mylar pieces, and also how you can actually like look through them. They're almost like these vents where space and air can flow through them, which I really loved. Yeah. You can go to the next. And yeah, I just thought if anyone wanted to check out the 360 videos, here's a QR code, and you just scan it, and it works best with like a YouTube app if you have it. But you can, it's the playlist of all the videos I did, so you can kind of explore those if you're interested. To kind of see what the work is like. But yeah, and next slide, and then that's everything. Yeah, thanks.